Hey, it's good to see you. We're back.
We are back. We are back. Season 2 in full effect. And in the best month of the year for me, anyway, because you all know I am an avid poetry lover. And this is
Oh,
National Poetry Month. Oh my gosh.
yes.
And we got some things lined up for y'all this month. And today we have, oh, Lord, look at that. I'm getting so excited. Things falling over in here. They just falling. We have we have one of DMV's hottest poets with us tonight, Miss Brown Paper Doll, and
All right.
we're gonna bring her in right after Shawn. Did you have any letters for Shawn Speaks?
Yes. Well, I want to do something just a little unofficial tonight. I'm not going to read a full letter, but I was getting a lot of letters while we were off about frenemies. So I
Mm.
kind of wanted to talk a little bit about frenemies and get your take on frenemies. So basically, I just want us to all understand that we all have some frenemies in our life. Don't take it for granted. When people say little sly things to you and you're like, I wonder why she said that. Listen, tune in, pay attention, because oftentimes people are letting you know that they like you, but they don't like you. And we just don't pick up on the cues. And so I want us to just kind of understand that we call a lot of people our friends, and that's because we're social beings. But the reality is, some people are really not our friends. They may be just associates, people we work with, people we know from around the block or around the way, but they're not our friends. And we have to understand that when we're rising, everybody's not happy. Everybody is not excited for you. Everyone who's smiling in your face is not necessarily a true smile. So we need to know about that. So, Nisi, I want to know, what you feel about frenemies.
Oh, girl, that's I got a lot going on with that topic. So we're gonna have
Mhm.
to do a whole show
On
just
that,
on
right?
frenemies. Okay, so y'all got it. Look out for it because we coming back and if we gonna talk, we gonna get real with it because she's
Real.
telling the truth. Everybody that say your friend is not really your friend. And I've had some frenemies in my life. Trust me, I'm quite sure we all have. So we're gonna have to do a whole show just on that frenemies. See, we coming back, y'all. We got fire for y'all this season. We got the
Yes.
fire. So we're gonna bring Brown Paper Doll back on stage.
Yes.
Yeah. So put your hands together for Miss Brown Paper Doll. Yes.
Yes.
Hey
Miss Brown Paper.
guys,
Hey.
they
Welcome.
smile in your face. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
All the times they want to take your place.
Yes. Backstabbers.
Woo,
Telling you.
backstabbers. Come on, y'all.
Come
We're gonna
on
get up
now.
and do the doo-wop in a minute.
Hello.
I'm telling you.
Oh, but that's a real hot topic and a hot subject because you know more now than ever you are seeing too many articles where um a boyfriend is killing a girlfriend or girlfriends are killing another girlfriend just like that baby girl last year over the summer Shanquilla where she went to Mexico with
Correct.
friends and
All
end up
right.
Friends.
yeah
Frenemies.
yeah so it's a lie and it deserves attention. It's something
That's
that should
right.
be
I
talked
think
about.
too, one of the things as a woman that you have to look at within yourself is what even drives that sort of scarcity complex that puts you in a position that makes you feel like somebody else's existence as who they are is threatening enough to you that you have to harm them. You don't
Mhm.
even
Exactly.
have to be around them, but you do have to look at what on earth is being triggered in you that is, I guess I have the fortune and misfortune of feeling like I am so much myself that I am a bull in a china shop. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Got
tell
it.
it myself. So I never was one of those girls when I was younger that, other girls would shoplift. I knew they would catch me immediately. Like I just knew it. And,
Okay.
and so for me, I can't pretend with you. So, and I try to pretend like I don't potentially have those sorts of people in my life, but you have to live in the world the way it is and not the way you wish it was.
Yeah, that is
Correct.
true. That is
Yeah.
true. So, would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Sure, sure. So I am Brown Paper Doll, and I like to say I am a small town gal, okay, from Northern Virginia, and I am a poet. I like to think of some of my friends call me. I have a lot of different nicknames.
Okay.
Fire. I have the fire breathing butterfly. You know, I'm partial to the ratchet when executed properly, right? But I speak well. I don't present that way. But one of the major things that I'm involved in is something called Rap is Poetry, which is what my shirt says. That is a collective of poets started by a close friend of mine, Artie Fox,
Hmm.
who's from Baltimore, and it's on the Clubhouse app. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that app.
I am.
So that room itself is a great resource for poets, and we're doing a lot of work in the poetry community and building, and it's something that I am very excited about.
So that's good. So what made you become a poet? We always have something that stimulates or brings out that gift. Do you
Right.
remember when you first started writing and why?
I think that I know for a fact that I've just always been obsessed with words.
Okay.
Um I taught myself to read by age 3 maybe. And
Oh,
yeah, and
awesome.
my mom was like, what in the world? Like did this child, because I was made fun of for the way that I speak most of my life. I am, my family is Southern. Okay. So they say like pocketbooks, filling
Oh,
station. You know what I mean? And so it took me a long time to understand like that it was a different language than what I was reading. We
Mhm.
speak in different dialects. And so
yeah.
I've always been a word lover, but I started writing when I was about 13. I'd say, that influx of puberty, just you be having
Mhm.
so many emotions. And
Correct.
that's
Okay.
when
And
I
it
first found myself expressing myself that way. When did I become an intentional poet?
mhm.
Oh, about when I joined Rap is Poetry. So back in about 2021, I
Okay.
started,
Oh,
yeah, I started figuring out, oh my God, I was writing these things. I joined this app and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to become a writer. I'm going to write a book. I always knew I liked to write. I went through a divorce, you know, and then I go, okay, I'm just seeking. I go
Mhm.
into this space, I start reading poetry. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm writing this in a rhythm. Wait a minute,
right.
I might actually be good at this. You go to your first open mic and then bam, from
There
there,
you go. It
whoa,
It
wait a
builds.
just
minute, I'm on to
builds
something
and
here.
builds and builds. Okay, that's. So, who is your favorite poet?
Who is, oh man, don't do that to me. I have so many. I will tell you who Artie Fox, who started Rap as Poetry, is one of my favorite poets. Just simply because I understand there's something unique about how melodic my poetry is, and I feel like
Okay.
he shares that trait. And so it's
Okay.
Gotcha.
very compelling. And then who really like I fangirl over, there's this poet, Miss Yankee,
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
from the UK, and I think she's like a
Oh,
six-time
Oh.
international. I saw her in a cipher at Art All Night. Do you know DC? So
yeah.
Anacostia Art Center.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to be there supporting a friend, and there was this rap cipher going on, and this woman just comes up like just royalty and just starts being like spitting this piece like, "Don't play with me," like just it was just her voice, and this was a rap battle, and this woman just silenced an entire room. And I've
Wow.
been
Right. Oh,
fangirling over
wow.
her ever since. Yeah, so she's into some really cool stuff. I really admire her. Also Brandon Leaks, who won America's Got Talent. I
Right.
respect him as
Right.
a poet as well.
Okay. Oh, okay. And what about older, like Maya
Of
Angelou?
course,
Mhm.
Maya Angelou is goals in life. Like somewhere between Erica Badu and her is where I'm really trying to land. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
mean? Just kind of my. But yes, I have some people tell me that something about the way I convey. Maybe it's because I've lived a little life by the time I got here. I truly respect her, definitely, as a poet. That's somebody that's like, I felt like that was just implied, you know.
Like
That's
I
just
didn't grow up
off
in.
top. I can't even be having a conversation with you about that unless I respect that.
Right, right. So this is National Poetry Month. So you probably are going to be have a busy itinerary for this month with, it being National Poetry Month, speaking engagements all over. Are you really busy this month?
Right now, and remember, I'm a mom of three, and I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot for women's history. So right now I'm doing a lot of more virtual things.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm often at I'm typically around this time. You can catch me at Galactic Panther, which is in Old Town Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time I'm there. My daughter's got a lot of things going on school wise because she's a poet for her creative writing course. So
Oh,
we're kind of,
yes.
yeah, we're kind of and it's weird because you get to watch that bud from that kind of the same time of being.
Yes.
Can you
Mm-hmm.
get your, pardon? Please get your crumply bags out of here. I really do. They're really over here messing around with stuff. But yeah, but just more so, I always say as you start to go out on the way appears,
Mm-hmm.
because just even the trajectory of what this has been for me, like with you, I just happen upon
Right,
blessings, or
right,
they happen upon me. And
right.
so I'm certain that there's going to be a lot going on. I believe there's a event too that's local to me here in Northern Virginia that I might try to hit. But I think other people
Mhm.
anticipate that I've got a large plan when really I'm like, God, where are you? Pulling me.
Right, right.
And then a lot of this month for me again is going to be kind of bunkering down and getting that book completed.
Get completed,
That's
right.
great.
So,
I would love to know about, because you said you did a lot for Women's Month. So I would like to know, what type of things did you, because people think, poets, what all can they really do? What are their contributions?
Right.
And I think people don't understand the power in the voice behind dynamic poets. So talk to me about what you did for Women's Month.
So for Women's History Month, I was featured piano keys. I was featured there.
Okay.
And I feel like the power, and something that I said on the stage, is the most powerful thing that I have to give my children is my story.
yes,
A
Wow.
lot of us, a lot of the reason I feel so compelled to speak on it is so that women know that they're not alone.
Yes.
So I did that, and then I went out, and then I understand that people don't expect to hear me speaking on Black women's issues because of the way that I talk and the way that I look.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
I get
mm-hmm.
what you're
Sometimes
saying.
you're putting yourself in spaces because of the platform that you're given as the exception to the rule.
Hmm.
And that's how you open the door for others.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
that's how you let people know they're not alone. Um,
that's right.
and you know what, I feel like there's something, I think that the opening someone's eyes up to poetry is opening them up to community.
Yes,
Yes,
And I think
definitely.
that women for this month, and if you look at, anybody wants to check out my Instagram at BrownPaperDoll Poetry, um you can see the collective efforts that I made to have camaraderie among my sisters during that period of time. And that was what was most important to me, showing that I'm here standing next to beautiful women. I'm here standing next to women of all shapes, colors, and sizes. There's space for
Yes,
everyone. We can kill it if we stop the infighting
yes,
yes, yes,
exactly.
and the kind of perpetuating of the misogyny that creates a lot of the issues we see today.
Yes, yes, most
And then,
Exactly.
definitely.
I literally have two daughters. So my goal is change the world as much as I possibly humanly can with the instrument that I've been given, so that
Yeah,
it's
Right.
better for them.
That's right. It's powerful. A lot of people don't understand just how powerful words are.
And
that's
definitely.
But
right.
they are very, very powerful. And when used in the right way, they can effect change.
Very much so, because I mean, look at what false news drives people to do.
Right.
Yes,
Look at what hateful speech and allowing you know what I'm talking about?
That's
Look at
right.
what it
exactly.
drives people to do. Imagine using that to it, and those people are given the platform to say those things based on privilege or whatever else, or whose neck they stepped on, or you know you imagine, God gave you the gift for a reason. So I've been changed. I know that I've opened my eyes to so many different people's perspectives, so many different people's plights. People that, look at her, she, this, she, that. And I just think that it increases my capacity to give people grace.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. That's
Yes.
right.
Most
And that's a
definitely.
powerful statement because so many times we become judgmental or we feel like we understand why someone is responding or acting the way they are, but we don't know their story. And so, even when you said the best thing you could do for your daughter is give her your story, because we don't know. And when we get to understand, we can empathize and we can, as you said, give each other grace.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of what we experience as the community, and it's not anybody's fault, like, but a
No.
lot of what we experienced was suck it up, was being, especially for me being kind of, small town gal, being shamed for how what other people might project onto you,
Right.
Hmm.
being shamed for, um like, for example, women now, I'm not going to shame you. I choose not to move a certain way because I'm a mother, but I believe that a girl being able to move her body how she wants, dress how she wants, that's, not too far from women's rights to me.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter
That's
being able to
true.
wear what the hell she wants, where is, where is the line? Now don't get me wrong, come on now, you know
I know what you're
a
saying.
baby, but at the same time, the way that I learned these things was shame, 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 shame on me if I do them. So when I see
Hmm.
someone else do them, shame, shame, shame on you. Therefore, I'm separate from you. Therefore, I'm better than you. Therefore, and I'm not. I'm not
Right.
with that. Yeah.
Right. And that speaks volumes because it's not about how we dress. It's not about how we move. You know, Martin Luther King talked about knowing a person by the content of their character.
Right.
But we tend to, and that's another show, Nisi, because even within our race, we have colorism.
Oh, very much
Oh
so.
You know,
yeah.
so when he says we shouldn't be judged by the color of our skin, but even taking that further, that we shouldn't be judged by what society has deemed to be appropriate or inappropriate, because some people express themselves through dressing a different way. Now we know if you're going to interview, come on now, let's not wear your Daisy Dukes and a halter top,
Ooh, Daisy
because
Dukes.
you
Well, we
know
have to remember too that during Martin Luther King's time, people did not like him. Black
they
people
did not.
too. They didn't like his approach. They didn't
They
like
did
what
not.
he was trying to do. But
Mhm.
he was a voice. That
Right.
man was a poet.
Yes, he
Yes.
was.
Yes, he
You know,
was. Yes, he
and a
was.
minister. And I in poetry, I really, even if you don't want it to be, and I use all these crazy words and all this, running my mouth, it still is a ministry of sorts.
Yes, it
Hmm.
is.
You know.
It is. It is. It really is. So, little fun fact. I write poetry as well. And so does Shawn. We both write poetry. We're both aspiring
Awesome.
authors. Um, so I just felt like that might be a little fun fact. So,
So how did you guys get into, because for me, as you can see, I just have a very expressive, the way I speak is just
mhm,
expressive, the way that I, kind of my face. And I think that helps me with poetry. And I see a lot of people who are poets coming into act. Like, how does one, do you take a course, or how do you even start something like that? Now I'm interviewing you, but I'm,
So I know, but it's
that's how I
okay.
am.
So for me, I began writing poetry at the age of 13. I'm a survivor of sexual molestation and rape. So I was raped at 13, and I had all of these emotions and feelings going on, and that was my way of getting through it because I didn't have anyone to talk to. So that was the catalyst that started. Instead of crying and all of that stuff, I would take what I was feeling and I would write it down. And it kind of handicapped me in a way because I found the only time that I can write is when I'm feeling a certain way, right? So it's not like somebody can say, hey, write a poem about whatever, and then I can just write it. I have to feel it. So, like, if you were to call me, or a friend was to call me and they're going through something, and I'm an empath too. So I take on other people's feelings and emotions. So if you call me crying and you tell me what you're going through, by the time we get off the phone, I have a poem written just because I feel that. So it kind of handicapped me because I'm not the type of poet that can just sit down and write. I have to feel something in order to write. So that's how I started writing. Um, and over the years, I've tried to develop um, writing when I don't feel, but it's hard. I've had a couple of people that do know that I write poetry that have called and say, can you write me a poem about such and such and such and such? And I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll, sit and I'll think and think and think. But if I can't feel it, then it's hard for me to write it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started writing poetry. And I've gone out to a couple of spoken open mic nights a couple of times. I've done piano keys once. I've done busboys and poets. There used to be this place way uptown called, it's like a cave. It was like the underground. It's like a little cavern or cave you go into. It was about back in the early 1995, 97. So I've done a couple of open mic places just because I love it, right? And I will go and read something that I have written, but I've always never felt like a real poet or a real spoken word artist because I can't just sit down and write like other artists can. So that's my one little hang up. That's my toxic trait.
No, I mean,
But
you know
she
what? I went
definitely
through,
is a poet. I
yeah, I
mean,
went through exactly the same thing. I went
Okay.
through because I had rest in peace to Michael Rothenberg, who was a
Mhm.
writer who's part of Rapist Poetry and
Mhm.
very integral in the beginning of it. A Jewish man. He told me one time as I was beginning to, I told you I happened upon this app. I know I've been writing most of my life, and then people start reacting to it, and you feel like I go through intense bouts of imposter syndrome
Mhm.
when I'm like, I'm not getting anything. I'm not, like my antenna are not picking up anything right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because you're kind of scared because you're like, how does this even happen? Where did it even come from? My one hit wonder type.
Right.
You don't know because you don't know how to control it. But
Right.
I used to always say when I saw Michael row the boat ashore because he told me you just have to keep the skills oiled. Like you ever hear a song and it's like, somebody generated this song for the purpose of trying to be a commercial hit, and you
Mhm.
can
uh-huh.
feel the difference
Right.
in the song. Like, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but that song "Rainy Days" with Mary J. Blige, I don't care what nobody talking about. It's not my song. I don't know why I feel like that song was just, they just put it together to be able to say, I don't know what it is about that song for me. But
Mhm.
my sister used to also play it every morning in school, and that is associated with the it's like, oh, somebody took him in the studio and was like, just talk about those
Mhm.
rainy days,
Oh,
and they just came up with something. But I don't want to feel that. I don't want it to be that for me.
right.
And that's the reason that I kind of struggled initially too. But as you sharpen the skill
Mhm.
over and over and over and over and just keep going,
Mm-hmm.
picking up on how to, even me, there's things that I'm working on right now,
Right, right,
and how to convey. Um, like I felt like I was doing well, and I opened for Brandon Leak, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm doing all right. And then he's like, kind of pulls, and then we all sit. It was an awesome kind of community experience. But
right.
he's like, all right, this is the kind of coaching notes I have for you. There's a difference between sad and despondent. Like there are subtleties and emotion that
Mm-hmm.
your range, that's why I was asking you about acting, because your range, you can increase your range of emotion, the range your voice goes up and down, the different
Right,
voices
right.
that you use within the piece. Like you basically feel like you've hit a ceiling and you haven't. You have to keep going to
Oh,
reach your
okay.
maximum potential. So that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And that's why when you ask who your favorite poet is, like there's no specific way to do
Right.
this.
It's
We
a
know Maya Angelou, but
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
yes.
my mind, Maya Angelou is, the poems are written down, and I see her speaking in interviews and
Mm-hmm.
things and just being an amazing woman. But I don't, my brain doesn't see her as a spoken word poet. I know she
Oh,
is
right.
one.
She's a right. She's a poet. Like
She's a poet,
Right.
and
right.
just the thought of even how that's changing. You're a poet, I'm a poet. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
a
a
poet.
poet. Yes.
Yeah, he's a dude, she's a dude. Yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
we're all dudes,
Yeah.
you
So
know.
I love one of my favorites is Nikki Giovanni. I read a couple of
Yes,
her
I like her.
pieces a while
Yeah.
back, so I was like just in awe with her too. So
What
yeah.
about do you like, well, there's Rupi, I think it's Rupi Kaur, and then there's also, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and then there's also Warsan Shire.
I
He
haven't heard
wrote
of.
for
Mm.
Beyonce's Lemonade album.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
See,
in the pieces, she has one piece that where she talks about like you try to be softer and quieter, but that's not how it works. Like, when you're trying to
mm,
keep a man. And it was in the beginning of in between Beyonce, but like my goals and
hmm
where I see myself, there's something along those lines of like, who doesn't want to be doing poetry on Beyonce's album?
okay.
exactly. well,
Okay.
well, well, Sean, you wanna don't you want to share how long you've been writing and what started you to writing?
Oh yeah, I was just waiting for a break. We were having a good conversation. So I also started writing in my early teens. I am a survivor of molestation and rape as well, but my rape occurred later. But I think the thing that really initiated it was when my cousin was dating a guy and me already feeling like a victim, and he approached me and he was like he wanted to be with me in secret, and didn't want me to tell my cousin. And that was when, because I was journaling and writing poems, and that's when I think that was the same time period where the song released You, Me, and He. But then I wrote a poem called You, Me, and He, because that was how I could channel what I was feeling. And eventually I was able to share that poem with her and tell her. And she was so hurt because I couldn't tell her when we were younger. But that's what started me. And I do have to write out of emotion, but I also can write on a topic. So if someone says, "Can you write on this topic?" It just takes me having to research and put myself in the space of the topic, and then I can write on a topic. And most of the time I do take it from my perspective of the topic. So yes, I started writing then, and I use poetry. So God has shifted me to use poetry in what I do. I'm a licensed professional counselor, so I use poetry in healing others. So I share some of my poems with my people that might be dealing with something that I wrote about, but I also encourage them when I find out they write or what have you. I encourage them to write poetry in order to express themselves and heal.
hmm It it is a very powerful tool, and
Mm-hmm.
it will help you heal. Because, like I said, words matter. It means something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, being so young, and I would almost kind of like go into like almost like a blackout, and I would just write. And then when I finish writing and then I come out, I would be like, oh my gosh, I wrote that. And I would be so amazed and shocked that I would, call my girlfriends and be like, yo, guess what? And then I would, read it to them or let them see what I wrote. And
Yep.
they'd be
Yep.
looking at me like, but it was just like all of this emotion that had nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
And that is the what we were talking about too, or like, you know, thank God for the tool of poetry that helped you to externalize what could have been internalized shame.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Both of you, for something that either of you
Yeah.
did cause for yourselves, you know what I mean, or created, and I think that's exactly important to have that tool to be able, and then it gives you um the voice. You, like you said, both of you, you read the poems eventually. I have some right now that I'm like, when I'm brave enough, I'm gonna read this to my mom.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
When I feel, and that's, and the more you do it, and the more you do it, I just find myself really at 36, even after 3 kids, and then me thinking I know whatever I know, finally being able to settle into, this is me,
Right.
and I'm
Mhm.
tired of apologizing for it. I might step on some toes.
Unapologetically you.
That's right.
Exactly. Very much so. Very much so. That's what the whole name Brown Paper Doll is about, because people see me, and it's very, very easy for me to manipulate a situation. For me, I can tell who you want me to be.
Mm. Mhm.
I can tell who you think I am.
Right.
Thank
And
Right. But
I've never been an actress, but I can play the role well. I played the role of military spouse. I can play, like, literally, if you look at my page, I just get in where I fit in everywhere I go, and I know how to do it for a period of time. But then the facade starts to crack when I
Right.
right.
find that I'm getting angry. And wait a minute, I
Right.
don't want this.
Right.
And I didn't even know.
Right.
So it's about being a people pleaser and recovering from that
Mm.
with boundaries. And that's the kind of the
Thank
journey that
you.
I've been on through
That's
poetry.
right.
Through poetry. And that has allowed you to stop being a people pleaser. Does it
I
help you?
mean, that's you're a clinician, but it's still a journey for me. But
Hmm.
I don't, I'm learning to I think it's there's a quote there, it's the learning not to, even when every bone in your body's been taught to go into hiding.
Mm.
Yes.
So I know it's going to be a lifelong, that's a skill that I perfected to feel safe, was kind of
Right.
manifesting my trauma in the form of charm.
Right.
you know
To just be able to pacify everybody, and in turn it helps you to be, or allows you to think you're being what you think you want to be, because
Exactly. Oh my God, exactly. I have the innate ability to become what people see me as,
right,
and I've been facade hopping my whole life to avoid, just the responsibility of having to be myself.
right, right.
You know,
well well, the best thing about it is you've accepted that
exactly.
realization, and now you can work on it and keep working on it, like you said, and have your journey. And it feels good to be able to just say, no, that's not
I
what
mean,
I'm.
pretty much. I mean, even when I first started, I try to pretty much, even though I run my mouth a lot, but I was raised very modestly, especially for today's world,
Right.
right? Because again, I had kids young. Then I'm somebody's wife. I'm in the house on
Yeah.
military bases, waiting for somebody to come back, raising my kids. I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to be on Instagram posting selfies of myself
Right.
for attention
Right.
while my man is gone at the time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
It just
Right.
didn't seem right. And it wasn't my focus. I was focused on my kids because they were little. And then I get divorced and I get thrown into this world of whatever it is now. You know what I mean? I've been
Right.
out the game for a long time. I've been out the
Right.
game
So
for
your role
13 years.
totally switched.
And then
Right.
and then I pop up
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait a minute. when I first get into poetry, I think every man who's telling me he likes my poetry really
Like you.
does
Right.
and is trying to help me as an artist.
But
And,
that's not what it
and then,
was.
but then I'm very modest and I just don't engage. I literally, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
don't watch anyone's story on Instagram ever,
Oh,
ever,
Okay.
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 just because of the implications of it. Because I've run into, I fight very hard give to make sure that I'm, and that's probably, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I definitely try to, especially as a mom, to keep a image of some degree of modesty
Okay.
Hmm.
and
Okay.
some degree I don't, and I try very hard not to give any indication,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm trying to,
That you
but
may be interested in them other than their story or
exactly, and
their
you still get it
poetry.
anyway.
Right.
And I kind of would laugh and deflected and laugh and deflected, and then over time, it's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
even me being able to go, how about just no, you know what I mean? Is a
Yes.
big deal because I spent up here a long time just kind of going, okay, I just have to kind of, because I feel like if a gentleman is respectful toward you, what's wrong with him flattering or trying to, how else is he gonna
Yeah,
meet you? I
there's
get that.
nothing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But stop thinking that's what I'm here for because that's what this world is now.
Yeah.
You know,
Correct.
I'm not, no, you know, that's just me. People tell me that's pretty girl problems. I think that's women problems. I think that's women problems.
Right.
Yeah. I think that when you say that, you're right, because it's okay to compliment, but if I don't want you to do anything else beyond the compliment, then you should be able to move forward.
Or
And
we should be able
sometimes,
to exist in this space without you taking offense for me not paying attention to you and
Mm-hmm.
stroking your ego the way you want me to. I'm not here for
exactly.
that. You need to if you can, respect me on my, you're showing me that you can't respect me on my merits based on what you expect from me versus another person. You know what I mean? If you don't
Right.
respect my talent, you ain't got to respect you're not liking what I'm doing, you don't have to, but
Mm.
don't come looking for love.
That's right.
Okay, exactly.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
True.
That's exactly right. So we're gonna take a pause, 30-second minute break, take a break, and we'll be right back. Okay.
sure.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, we're back. We are so back. So would you mind sharing a piece of your work with us, with our listeners?
Certainly. And I just speaking on what I was just speaking on, this is a piece that I wrote. I'm on 20%, guys, but I'll get my charger in a second. This is a piece that I wrote for a venue that I would go to that I loved. And I just kept having so many of the men not be able to accept. This is where I had to learn that even though
Mhm.
I wanted to just be there and be an artist, I was going to keep having to deal with this. And I decided that I was not going to allow people's projections to make me uncomfortable or decide who
Right.
I was.
Right,
So
right,
it's
right.
based on the quote, people do not see you, they invent you and accuse you. Okay.
Ooh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I apologize for being pretty everywhere I go. And the falsehoods of that arrive before I even say my name. It implies something that I attempt to disprove with my words. But they say a picture is worth 1,000 of those. I am not responsible for your illusions. I show up to the party wearing my own face, but you cannot see me. I am not responsible for his attraction, her jealousy, their offense, their gross miscalculation of my hard won self love. It is not an invitation. I like to send mine in big bold letters. Not a competition. What's for me is for me. These words are not meant as weapons, they are meant as lessons. Things I would have killed to learn before learning them almost killed me. That narrow survival is how I came to be. It's the price I had to pay for you to hear me speak. People want to put me on their pedestals. Do you know what that feels like? Pressure, pressure, pressure. I don't need to be a diamond. During peak admiration, there is no space to move while balancing on tiptoes up there where they placed me. I don't need to be a ballerina. So oftentimes I rebel in a defiant act of self preservation or self sabotage. Adoration equals expectation. That's a losing game. Let me be different. I don't need to be the same. Poem. Thank you guys.
Yes, that was beautiful. That was deep.
It
That was
is
deep. Yes. Come
because
on.
you're always walking that tightrope of like, is it people's projections or is it me anticipating what they're going to project on me based on previous trauma?
Right.
Is it really them or? But yeah, that was me kind of going. Look, I'm so tired of everybody thinking when I show up, I'm here for something.
Right.
I
I'm
try to
Mhm.
shut myself down. I try to be quiet. I try not to dance too much. I try not to, you know what I mean? And
right.
you end up with, women who think you're there for something or men who think you're there for something. And I can't do that anymore. I can't keep running.
That's right.
Yes.
That is
You have to
exactly
be
right.
able to be free in your space.
Well, exactly. And I think really being attractive is one thing, but I really think it has to do with just how authentic I am. I just tend to I'm polarizing. I tend to just ruffle feathers because I'm just going to kind of tell it like it is.
Mhm.
I like
That's the thing.
I like what you call it, ruffling feathers, because you got to shake up things a little bit. We want to shake some
Yes.
things up.
People who move mountains piss people
That,
off.
that's right. We want to shake
Definitely.
up a little bit. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Nothing at
Definitely.
all. Oh my gosh, this has been just a awesome, awesome time, and I'm even more of a bigger fan now. So
Oh, thank you
I
so much.
can't wait. So
I am a fan.
yes, yes. So
But I want to hear another poem.
oh, there we go.
You know what we talked about and what's the language situation on this because I see a lot of love and divine light because I sometimes have curse words and I can adjust.
You can curse.
Okay.
Do you?
But
You
there's not a
have
lot
to
of curse
be.
words in this one. I
Do
just
you?
the authenticity. There you go. But I we talked a little bit on colorism, and that's something that my name is Brown Paper Doll. I told y'all why. I didn't want it to just be Paper Doll, and then Black Paper Doll was taken, and so my sister and I decided on this when I first started everything out.
Gotcha.
Um, but people tend to think it's brown paper bag because of the with Black people the brown paper bag test.
That
Uh,
was done on me. That
Yeah,
was done. Oh, real talk.
yeah.
Um, I, I, well, I already said, no, I did not say. So
nope.
good. Let me tell you what it happened to me when I was in college, and a guy, I was speaking my mind. We were kind of trying to date or something, and I spoke my mind, and he said, you should be privileged. And I said, why should I be privileged? He said, because traditionally people in my family don't date anybody as dark as you.
Mm.
And I said, as dark as me, what does that mean? And he took out a paper. I was shocked. I about thought I was going to fall to the floor. He took out a paper bag and put it up against my skin and said, you are darker than a paper bag. And I traditionally don't date anybody. And I said, well, don't let me be an exception to your
Oh
rule.
no, never that. And
You can
when
go.
people see you, you know, white people think I'm the exception to the rule. I know that. I know that. And you don't know the family that I'm from. My grandmother used to always say, the way I knew about that was because my grandmama used to always say, like, oh, three of my kids are lighter than a brown paper bag, and three of my kids like my family's just whoo. Everybody got Thomas Jefferson. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I look like this. You know what I mean? I got cousins lighter than this. I got cousins, and you'll hear about that in the piece, but that's kind of the conflict, the conflict. I understand I'm a black woman. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
black woman that has lighter skin and a finer texture of hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
already understand why people in my community would ostracize me because I understand how it feels to be less to be made to feel less than a white girl.
Mm.
So I already know that if I'm somewhere on that spectrum that's closer to that than you, whether I want to or not, my existence, if I don't, you know what I'm saying, use this platform correctly, which is why I always talk about that, is going to help to downgrade you. If
Right.
I allow somebody to call me light skin, oh, she look exotic, oh, if I let you get away with that shit with me, I am I am being disloyal.
That's
I am
right.
guilty of exactly what and a lot of people are unwilling to accept that. And that's a fact, you know. But I
Right.
have a piece called Just for Me, right? Remember Just for
Yeah.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I still tried it. I still tried it back in because let me tell you, fine texture, yes, but high porosity. Don't let the moisture don't let the moisture get to my head. So this one's called Just for Me, and it's about that concept, right?
Okay.
Just for me. Them European beauty standards wasn't just for me, but it felt like it, and I didn't fit in. Curly hair always betraying the true African bloodline within. And while my mama always led with, we blacker than our skin. There's back doors your granddaddy had to go through for me to proudly step in. The front. It was the front. And I was raised to be militant. Never let them white people tell you shit. But truly wearing black pride does not mean saying things like, make sure you pinch that baby's nose to keep it from getting too wide. It's always been a form of apartheid, a separation she couldn't see while still inside, a caste system she fed with a delusional pride, but it wasn't just for her. It was for everybody. And my sisters standing beside me, and my cousin Rika, who later described to me, nobody believed we were blood. And I replay the look on her face each time someone complimented me on how not black I was. And by default, called her hair rough, made her feel not enough. Took her years to learn her curl pattern, and through that, self love. I walked a parallel path. The irony of my sister literally ironing my hair would almost make me laugh if it wasn't so sad. And the crazy part is, it would never last. One step outside was looking like buckwheat in the front, Beyonce in the back. And I hated that. Always said, you talk white. You think you cute. You think that you can pass. My response was always, curly hair, don't care, kiss my ass. But I couldn't shake the feeling, the shadow they cast. Look at the blame they gave me. To understand the shame that plagued me and the way I had to learn that people would hate me, berate me, damn near excommunicate me, all because they couldn't relate to me.
Hmm.
And I learned I had earned it for being birthed with something closer to what white people said was worth it. That represents its own burden. But I know that's not just for me. If there's a spectrum and I'm in the middle, I can only imagine what the far side would mean, what the darker side would mean. Coarser hair always telling, no room to hide in ethnic ambiguity. I know that's why they're wary of me. And so I move with humility for my daughter with the truth in her proof that shows our ancestry. That's Black pride to me. Maybe that's what justice means. Righting those wrongs through history, starting with my family. And I hope that's not just for me. Tenderheaded. Thank y'all.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Let me
Oh,
tell you, that
oh.
poem is so awesome because it's just so real. Um, when different things like that happen to me, we like to go to movies, but do you? Well, you're a little younger, but have you ever seen the movie School Days?
Of course. Way up.
Okay, yes. So that was real. That was real on on black college campuses when I went. And but that was so real. And that's what made me write the light skin, dark skin issue, discrimination within our own race. I did a speech on that, and by the time I was finished, the whole class was standing
Yep.
because I
Mm,
talked about how we have taken on the negative names like black and smoke that massa used to call us, and red and red bone and stuff like that. And how, and I talked about, I even brought back up Martin Luther King because
Mhm.
that was the thing about the color, yet we do it within our own race. He said, we don't want to be discriminated from anybody else about our color, but we do it in our own race.
I think that everybody is trying to make sure that they get their share of acknowledgement for the pain.
mhm,
And we're trying to make sense of why, and but it just is getting to the root of, for me, I already understand whatever people think when they see me. I'm like, I already get it. You know what I mean? And I already, like I said, I went through that. But it hurts to be ostracized by your community because I don't want to be the token black girl in these other environments.
mm.
There's a whole piece of who I am missing when I'm there. And I tried that because of being ostracized for the way that I speak, and you know, it's not who I am. You know what I mean? So, and I, like I said, and I was made to feel that way. You're never enough, and you got a big old butt, and you got these big old lips, and people want to fetishize you, and oh, but you're not that black. Oh, yes, I am.
Hmm.
Never
Hmm.
you fear.
Mhm.
That
Hmm.
piece that I read, a woman I went to, and it was it's probably one of four black people on the whole thing, but that piece that I read, there was a woman that was a white lady who interrupted my piece while I was on stage at this festival and said, that I have a reel of it on my page that said, "Oh, I just have something to say. Not all black, as a cosmetologist, not all black African American people have curly hair." And I said, "I'm very aware of that. That's the
Mm.
point."
And she did that in the middle of your
Yeah,
show?
and I said it's very atypical but I said that's what I'm here for. That's what and I told her that I said I already understand that due to the way that I speak. Like, bitch, I'm sorry. You probably don't, and I didn't say this on the stage. I handled it like a queen, but
Right.
you probably don't even understand, you know what I mean, how much
Mhm.
I understand the way you think.
That's
You
right.
don't even know that I know that you're in your brain thinking, oh, she's not that type of black.
Mhm.
I already got that because that's the path I used to get here. Letting you think that. Now I'm
Mhm.
here. Guess what? It ain't what you thought it was.
That's right.
Because we got to do that in work environments, and we got to, as an artist, I just absolutely refuse.
That's right.
You
And you
know?
shouldn't, and you shouldn't submit to anybody else's thought of what they think that you should be. You are who you are. Like you said,
But you get it,
unapologetically you.
from all sides. You get it from, and I've tried to bring up that conversation with my sisters, and my mommy had been like, guys, don't we need to acknowledge that, if you're, lighter or something, you probably, you need to acknowledge your share of not being completely a part of that. You're a part of it, but you're
Your
not.
part.
There's a spectrum, and there's people going through things that maybe you can't identify with, that, in different things that we might benefit from, that we're not being honest about.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's not, it's bad, it's worse for us because we get it, and you do get it from all sides. But I don't know, I just think everybody's got to kind of, I have to do a lot of being humble to get people to let me in, and
Mhm.
that's something that I need to understand going in, and I'm cool with
Right.
that. that's
Right.
that's
Well,
my
I
goal.
think I think that all stems back, and so I do a lot of especially when I get young girls together and it's all different shades. I do a lot of education on, even see, that stemmed back from slavery,
Right.
because the darker brothers and sisters were in the field,
Mhm.
right? But that was because they were the genuine, not, I don't mean genuine, but what I mean is they were the original Africans that came over, right? But
Right.
Master started playing in our playhouse, right? So the divide came when Massa put the light skinned people in the house, but he didn't put them in the house because of what we think. It wasn't based on his color. Why do you think Master put them in the house?
They was his kids.
Yes,
Exactly.
he knew they were his kids. So it wasn't
My sister
because you.
did, yeah, my sister did some sort of, genealogy thing. And I am 30% European. I don't got no white parent. I don't got no white grandparent.
You see?
I don't got no, I'm telling y'all, Thomas Jefferson, I'm down here in Virginia. I don't know what that
Okay.
man's doing. That's my theory.
So that's it. So he did that not to say that you are not as good. He knew I was in the shack last
With the
night
blacks.
and last month and 9 months ago. So boo boo, come on in the house with me. I can't tell my wife I'm bringing you in the house because you're my child, but I
Yeah.
can say we gonna let Susie be the nanny.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. But we, in our mind, we became separated based on the color, thinking one was thought to be better than the other, but it wasn't based on that.
Not at
That's why
all.
we brought you in.
The whole concept is made up. The whole concept of race is even made up. You seen that
It
woman?
is.
And I can never remember her name. I think her name's Jane something. And she went on Oprah that time and separated the people with the brown eyes and the blue eyes. And the people
Okay,
started
I think
acting
I saw
up.
that episode a long time ago.
Yeah, and that was what her whole study was based in, and just because of the fact that the whole thing is insane. You know what I mean? The whole thing, and it's literally backwards because the more diluted you are from like the original, which is like really royalty and amazing, the more diluted you are from that, the more you're praised in this society. But that's how badly we've been, you know.
Exactly.
And I'm still
And let me
working on
tell
my
you,
own brainwashing half the doggone time, y'all, all the
we're the
time.
only country that has race.
Hmm?
We're the only country that has race. When you go, I mean, you've traveled abroad and all. Do you hear people say, "I'm a black Frenchman"? I'm
No, but
an
I don't.
Afro
I don't.
Frenchman.
I haven't traveled abroad. I'm just abroad that's traveled. So I haven't. I've traveled in the over to Hawaii. Is about as far as I've made it. I've been in the U.S. But hey, who knows? Who knows? I got planned. But no, I mean I know what you mean. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
People don't make the. I had a Canadian friend in school, and people don't make it that way in other countries. And
Right.
not saying they're not affected, not saying they don't have their own
They're
share of issues,
affected.
but they don't. That's not. She's like, I don't get it here. And she was white. I remember her saying, "Why is that the first thing?" She's like, "When I talk about you, I say you're funny. I say you're cute. I say this. I don't think about that. But here, that's
Right.
not how people are." She's
Right.
like, "It's
Yeah.
just not the first way I would describe you." You know.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
that's just how it is here. It's such a concept. Guys, my phone is on less than 10%.
Okay. We about
Okay.
to end this right
Yes,
now.
we are.
I'm
This
so
has been
nervous. I'm like, Lord, I
amazing.
don't want
Oh,
to
but
lose
you
y'all.
was good.
I feel like
Now,
I just need to come through and hang out with y'all for real.
yes. You let me know when's the next time you're gonna be on this side and I'll come out and see you and support. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. I've had such a lovely experience. That was one of my favorite times ever reading my Black Hair piece because I feel like this is the most I've ever been given a platform with people who understand,
Hmm.
and women who you can't know how much it means to me for you to accept what I'm saying to you and understand it's my intent. You
Yeah.
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are absolutely beautiful. Isn't she bad? I
Man,
told you. I'm
yes.
telling people they are in for
I
a treat.
really
One
look
of
like
the hottest.
I really look like this. I don't know my shorts. Hold on, don't put that in. I
Ah,
gotta re-record this.
okay. Oh, I got you. I'm gonna edit it out. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I do what I can. It's all I can do. Thank God